Hi guys, it's Steph here from the Novelty Corner, and today I'm going to share with you my top 5 books for 2016. I'm going to apologise in advance, I am pre-filming a couple of videos today, so you're going to see me look like this for a little bit. It is also really hot outside. I've had to turn the air conditioner off, so I apologise if I start sweating. But unfortunately this is the only time I can film and I've got to get through this, and if I've got the aircon on, you're not going to be able to hear me. Let's get started. I'll preface this with what I've seen quite a few people preface their top books of 2016 with. These are just the books that I read in 2016. They may not have been released in 2016. I'm only doing my top 5 because these are the books that really stood out to me. These are the books that after I read them, I kept thinking about them on and off over the course of the year. I'm going to get started. I'm going to start with number 5, work my way up to number 1. 5, 4 and 3 are sort of interchangeable for me. Books 2 and 1 are in order because these are the books that for the majority of the year they've sat up there as my top 2 books of the whole entire year, and if you've had any conversations with me you're going to know exactly which books I'm talking about. Coming in at number 5 is Crooked Kingdom by Leigh Bardugo. This was the year that I discovered Leigh Bardugo because everyone was talking about her, and I read Six of Crows first, then I read the Grisha trilogy because everyone said read the Grisha trilogy before you read Crooked Kingdom. So I did, and I really hesitated picking up Crooked Kingdom after it was released. I bought it the day that it came out, but I was really hesitant to start reading it because everyone was going on and on about how good it was. That sort of hype around anything freaks me out to no end. I did read it. I did really enjoy it. I think it is definitely my favourite of Leigh Bardugo's books. I definitely enjoyed the Six of Crows duology more than I enjoyed the Grisha trilogy, which I did really like, but this one I thought just was a lot more interesting. It had a lot more diverse range of characters in it. Yeah, the characters themselves weren't, all the good guys. They're your anti-heroes. They were just really fantastic to read. I mean, Kaz is a really interesting main character for this book because he is so grey in that he sits in that grey area of moral decisions. But what I really loved more about Crooked Kingdom was how we got to see and hear about his thought process a little bit more, which we did. We sort of got a little bit of in Six of Crows, but we got a lot more in Crooked Kingdom, which was why I loved this one so much. Number 4 on my top list for 2016 is This Savage Song by Victoria Schwab. This is the very first Victoria Schwab book that I've read. I am desperate to read some of her other books, and I am planning on reading A Darker Shade of Magic in the next week or so, which I'm really looking forward to. I loved this book. I just love this whole idea of these monsters being created out of violent crimes. Yeah, it's just one of those books that I kept thinking about afterwards. I don't even really know how to explain it. I loved this book. I will be picking up Our Dark Duet, which comes out later this year, and I cannot wait to see how this duology concludes. Book number 3 is Illuminae by Amy Kaufman and Jay Kristoff, which is the first book in the Illuminae files, and I also read Gemina as well. But I did find that I loved Illuminae just that little bit more. It is just such a unique style of book, and if you've been anywhere on BookTube, you've more than likely seen and heard it. This whole idea of this mega corporation coming in and bombing a planet and trying to displace all of its citizens, and then the following chase that happens as a result of that. Katie and Ezra were fantastic. And Aiden is one of my absolute favourite characters of this entire year. And actually, maybe that's something I should do. Maybe I should do my top characters of 2016. Let me know down in the comments. Is that something you want to hear about? Because maybe I can do that. Aiden was one of my favourite characters for the entire year. I just thought he was amazing. For such a big book, this only took me 2 days to read, or 2 sittings to read. I read it over 2 nights. And I absolutely loved it. And I've been recommending this to people left, right and centre, even though they look at me weirdly and go, how could you possibly read something in that format and that big? But it is amazing, and if you haven't read it, do yourself a favour, definitely check it out. Book number 2, I do own a copy of, and I don't know where it is. I have a feeling that my dad has it. It is The Martian by Andy Weir, and again, this was one of those books, and I think I've talked about this before, that I'd seen around, especially when the movie was being promoted, and I never picked it up because I just thought, how could that possibly be an entertaining story about a guy stuck on Mars? Just surely that would just be horrific and horrifying to read about. Oh boy, was I wrong. When I first started watching BookTube videos, this was before I even started filming anything, so it was about a month beforehand, and I was watching a whole lot of top lists and things like that from different people, and everyone kept talking about The Martian. I was out in the city one day and I just decided, okay, you like sci-fi stuff, so you should probably pick this book up and see what everyone's going on about. So I did, and I started reading it on the bus on the way out from the city. I loved it. I was so surprised, I was so shocked, and I loved the book. Mark Watney is such an interesting character, and yeah, okay, so maybe it stretches science and all that sort of stuff a little bit far, but it was enjoyable. I couldn't believe how much I was laughing while reading. And then I did watch the movie afterwards, and I did like the movie, but I was so glad that I read the book first, because I just thought the book had so much in it that was really interesting to read. So if you haven't read that book, definitely do check it out. Well worth it. And my number one book should come as no surprise to anyone who's had a conversation with me in the last, I don't know, 6 months. And that is The Long Way to a Small Angry Planet by Becky Chambers. I have been recommending this one and bringing this book up in every single conversation I've had about books, for a while. No, I would never have picked this book up. I'll be perfect. As much as I love sci-fi, and sci-fi is my genre, I never would have picked this book up had it not been for the recommendations on BookTube. So thank you to everyone who was talking about this book, because that's the whole reason that I bought it, and I read it, and I love it, and I will always love it. I don't know if I'm going to find anything to top this in the next 12 months. I just love the family aspect of this, and it does remind me a little bit of Firefly, but it's so much more diverse and so much more interesting and engaging, and the characters are so wonderfully developed. So this book is about the crew of the Wayfarer, which is a spaceship that is tasked with punching holes through space so that it can make travel through space a lot quicker. So it's a dangerous job. Then they're tasked with this job at the aforementioned Small Angry Planet, and it takes them ages to get there, but they're being paid quite a lot for it, and they've been told take their time, get there by this date, and the job's yours. The majority of the book is that journey, and that is so wonderful because there's a lot of side stops and there's a lot of character drama and personal drama and relationships that are developed through this book, and it is just absolutely wonderful. So if you haven't read it, do definitely check it out. Even if you're not a fan of sci-fi, I think that you will really enjoy this book if you like really well-developed character stories about friendship and family, because that's what this book is. So those are my top 5 books of 2016. Let me know down in the comments what were your top books for last year. I would love to know. If you've done a similar video, link it down below so I can check it out, because I'm really enjoying watching everyone's favourite top books from last year and being able to add things to my future reading list. So I hope that wherever you are in the world, you're having a wonderful day, and I'll catch you guys in my next video. Thanks for watching. Bye.